All right. Now welcome. So today we're going to look at the control flow structures. We're going to look at the if statement. We're going to look at the if else and if else if else, as well as yes, and then the switch statement. We're going to look at the switch statement. Then we will look at the while loop. We'll look at the do while, and finally we'll look at the for loop. So those are the things that we're going to do today, and you'll find the notes as well as this class um, in the folder that I'll give you a link to. Well, some of you already have the link to that folder where we upload our classes as well as the notes and the labs as well. So what is an if statement? The if statement is a control structure. What do we mean when we say it's a control structure? It's a control structure because we use it to control. What are we controlling? We are controlling how the program flows. We are controlling how the lines of code should be executed. So an if statement is a control structure that allows us to execute a block of code only if a condition is true. Okay, so we're going to look at the condition. If it's true, then we'll execute that block of code. So it is the simplest decision making statement in C++. What do we mean is decision making? Because the program will only run a certain will only run the block of code if the condition is true. So it will decide based on whether the condition is true or false. If the condition is true, then it will run that code. Otherwise, it won't run it. So we use it to control program flow based on the condition. That's an if statement, which is what we talked about in the previous class. I just wanted to go over it before we go to the next version of if statement. So this is the syntax. Syntax is simply how it should be written in C++. So it will be the if keyword, and then in the bracket you put the condition. We saw the conditions. We talked about the condition. We can check whether x is greater than y, where x and y are variables containing values. Now, does it if it's true, if that condition inside the bracket is true, then the code inside this block will run, and will only run it if the condition is true. So remember, the double forward slashes are just how we write comments. And remember, comments are ignored by the compiler. The compiler does not consider comments. It doesn't look at the comments. It just ignores them. Now, for all the control flow structures, it is very important, and it will be our focus for the rest of this course to understand how they work. Each and every control flow structure, you need to understand how it works, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. And even in the questions that I'm going to give, I'm always going to ask you to explain exactly how a certain control flow structure works, and I'm going to do that in the notes. Now, this is how an if statement works. First, that's the first thing that compiler does. It checks the condition. It checks if the condition is at the bracket. It checks it. Is it true? If that condition is true, then the block, the if block, which is that one that is, you are one of another bracket. So that one that is denoted by the bracket inside the bracket. Okay, the Mobi cannot see the slides. Let me see. Who else? Can we all see the slides? I think that Mobi says he can't see the slides. Are there people who are still able to see the slides right now? If you can see the slides, Meditable is like she's okay. She can see the slides. The meeting can also see the slide. Maybe it's the network on your side. Please try to check. I see some people are training and leaving. I think maybe it's the network issue. I am not sure. I don't know how is it? Can you see the slides, or you still have an issue with seeing the slides? but lucky enough, you'll they are visible on my side. Okay, everything is fine. Now, I just want to confirm that we are still recording. Okay, everything is still fine. All right. Now, it's very important to understand how they work. So now, step one, what the compiler is going to do is going to check the condition. Is the condition true? Then, if it is true, then it is going to run this block that is inside the curly braces, right? So that's how it works. But if it's not true. That means if it is false, then block we're going to skip that block. We're going to skip the if block. We are not going to execute it. Now here's an example of an if statement. So we have int x equals to 10, right? We have int x equals to 10. Now if x is greater than 5, so yes, 10 is actually greater than 5. That means the statement will run, because 10 is indeed greater than 5. So it only execute when the condition holds. When we say the condition holds, we mean when the condition is true. So that's what we mean when we say it only executes when the condition holds. Yeah, so you need to also learn the language that we use so that you understand what we mean when we say the condition holds. Even in class, you should tell them that that will only execute if that condition holds. So you show them that yeah, you are really educated. Now, we go to the if else statement. So we have the if else statement. Why do we need if else statement if we already have an if statement? So if else extends if by giving an alternative block of code if the condition is false. So if you look at this, we only have what to do when the condition is true, right? This is the code here. This one if statement only has a provisional code for what we should do when the condition is true. Now the if else is going to give us an alternative block of code if the condition is false. What should we do then if the condition is false? That one, it only checks if the condition is true. If it's false, the program just skips it and it continues to the next to other lines of code. But then the if else statement gives us an alternative block. So we use it when we want one block for true and another for false. So we use it when we want one block for true. That means if this is true, you should do this. If it's false, then you should do this. All right. So here's a syntax. Syntax, remember, is simply how you should write it in C++. It will be if, then the condition that we're going to check, and then the code. This is the code inside the first curly brace set of curly braces is the code that is going to be executed if that condition is true. And then we have the else part. This is how we write it. So it's going to be the else, and then this will be what the code inside the else block will be executed if the condition is false. So only one of the two blocks will be executed. They cannot be executed at the same time. If it is true, then the top block will be executed. If it is false, then the bottom block will be executed. They can't execute at the same time. And then we have the else if ladder. It's more like a ladder. That's why they call it else if ladder. So it will be if, else if, and so on and so on. So if and if else handle only one condition, right? The previous two that we just talked about, if and if else, they handle only one condition. See, there's only one condition here, and also there's only one condition here, because we say if, then it's one condition. They only handle one condition. This is the if else. It also handles one condition, but then we have the if and else if. So this is how it looks like. So we're going to say this is the syntax. If condition, the first condition is condition 1, then the code for if condition 1 is true inside its set of curly braces. So then we have else if, and then the condition true, and then code if condition 2, if condition 2 is true, and then we can have the else part. This means the else part here is going to be executed if none of the conditions above were true, and if none of them are true, then the else part is going to be executed. This one is easy. I think we understand it. I'm gonna go check if there are questions or okay, no questions. All right. Um, and now what else do we have? Okay, so we move on. Now we have this one. We have a switch statement. Other programming languages do not have the switch statement. The likes of Python, they don't have a switch statement. Only languages like C, Java, and C++, they have the switch statement. So switch statement is used when a variable or expression can have multiple discrete values. So it chooses one case to execute based on that value. Alternative to multiple else if statements. Okay, what do we mean here? We say a switch statement is used when a variable or expression can have multiple discrete values. For example, let's say a variable that is going to hold the day of the week. We know it can have multiple values, discrete values. I mean, we're just talking about it can have multiple values, like it can be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because it's a variable that is going to hold day. So now we use a switch statement if we have such a variable that can have multiple values, right? Multiple values like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then we choose what we should do for each case. In a case if the variable holds Monday, what should we do? And then in a case where it holds Tuesday, what should we do? In a case where it holds Wednesday, what should we do? So we use switch statement for that, which is the same thing that you can use for, which is the same thing you can still achieve the same thing with the else if statement, because it has multiple conditions. Because you can check, if day equals to Monday, you do this, else if day equals to Tuesday, then you do this. But then the switch statement provides a more compact and nicer way of doing it. We're going to look at those things. We're going to make a code examples. We're going to code the examples today, so we'll see them. All right. Now here's the syntax of the switch statement. Now we say switch. It can be there. You can have an expression that's going to evaluate to either true or false, or that's going to result into a certain value. But then you can also have just a variable holding a certain value that can have different values. For example, if the variable is Monday, let me check. Let me check there's a message in the group, and let me see which one. Oh, there's somebody who cannot join. It's saying they should check the internet connection. um okay. I don't know. Maybe it's the network, I think. We're very sorry, but we'll give the class to them after this. They'll be able to watch it. All right, so we have the switch express. So you have the variable or an expression. You'll see we're going to have examples. And then case one is the possible value, the first possible value. If the variable is Monday, and then the first value will be, if case that is Monday, then you do this. So that's the code for value one, first value. Then you write break statement. You'll see why we have to write break statement. We want to get out of the switch statement immediately after we find that the matching case. Let's say case one is the one that matches the value that the variable is holding. Then after executing the code for value 1, we want to exit, or we want to get out of the switch statement. So we want to exit it. That's why we say break. If you don't do the break, it's going to go through and check our other cases, even though they are not going to match, because only one case can match. So it's going to continue and execute this other thing. So you don't want that. You want it to break and get out of it. So we have the default the default case. So this is what you want your program to do if none of the cases match what the variable or the expression evaluates to. You'll see. Don't worry. You'll see. We're going to write the code for this. So each case must end with a break to prevent fall through. So that's what I was talking about. If you don't include the break statement, it's going to fall through to other blocks that you don't want it to execute. We're going to have examples right now. So now we are talking about the loops. So a loop, no, so if you look at this ones, they only allow us to skip certain blocks of code. The switch statement, the if and the else, and the if else, they allow us to skip some condition, some block of code depending on the condition. Okay, we decide which one to execute, which one not to execute. So they allow us to skip. But then the loops, they allow us to repeat. These ones allow us to repeat. We want to repeat a certain block of code a certain number of times. So a loops allows repeating a block of code multiple times. So when we talk of loops, one other thing that we're going to talk about is iteration. We're going to talk about iteration. Okay, what is an iteration? So you need to be familiar with the word so you understand what we mean. An iteration is one full run of the loop. So when the loop runs the first, like one complete run, okay, you'll see what we mean by one complete run. That's the first iteration. Okay, and then when it runs again, it's the second iteration. So an iteration, just know it's one full run of the loop, or one complete run of the loop. So while loop, which is the one that we are talking about, it repeats as long as the condition remains true. As long as the condition is true, then the while loop will run. Let's look at the syntax for a while loop. So we have while and then the condition. So this is a condition that we're going to check if it's true. As long as this condition is true, we'll keep repeating this code inside the while block. So the code executes repeatedly as long as the condition is true. So now this is how it works. Step one, we check the condition. If the condition is true, then the body, or sometimes we call it the block of while, or the body of the while loop. So the body of the while loop is just that code inside the curly braces that come immediately after the while loop. So that's the body of the while loop. It's the body of the loop, or it's the block of the while block. So we can use those terms interchangeably. So now we say if the value, if that is true, then that body is going to execute, and we are going to repeat until the condition is false. So it will keep repeating that code until the condition is false. But if the condition is false, we don't even go inside the loop. We just go to the next lines that come after the while block, or the while body. So now there's what we call an infinite loop or infinite loop. An infinite loop occurs when the condition never becomes false. For example, if the condition is always true, then the code is going to run forever, and you don't want that. We want loops that terminate. If your loop doesn't end, it keeps on repeating. Imagine you have someone who was not sure about what they were doing, and then you try to enter the password, and it keeps on saying to you, enter the password, enter the password, enter the password, enter the password. We need that loop to stop working when they have entered the correct password. So you need to find ways in which you can make the loop terminate, and this is where a lot of people find things a little bit uh, challenging. But we're going to look at that, and make sure that we don't have that problem. I'm trying to talk to this person who can't be with us. I'm telling them to try to refresh. I don't know if that will even help, but anyway, we'll see. Now, so we must ensure that the condition changes. Okay, we must ensure that that condition that is checked up there by the while loop we must make sure that it changes inside the loop so that the loop can terminate. When we say the loop terminates, we means it ends, so we no longer repeat. So we need to make sure that somehow we make sure the condition changes so that the loop will terminate. We don't have an infinite loop that's going to run an infinite number of times. So sometimes we want the loop body to run at least once. So we have the do while loop. For example, if you want the body of the loop to run at least once, then we use the do while loop. For example, when you're writing programs that provide when you're writing programs that provide a, let's say they provide a menu. For example, let's say you're coding something like M-Pesa, right? So when you see when you want to buy bundles, you see options there, and then there will be another one for option to exit. For example, zero to exit. So if you're coding a menu, then you want that menu to be displayed at least once, right? You want it to be displayed at least once, because you can't exit the menu without seeing the menu. You have to see it at least once. So we use the do while loop. So it will be do and then the code that should happen. So then we check the condition at the end. So that's the do while loop. And programming languages like Python do not have a do while loop. Um, Now a syntax. Here's a syntax for a do while loop. So it's do. Then we write the code that we want it to execute. So it's going to execute it at least once. Okay, and then we check the condition. So while condition is this. So if the condition fails, we see that the condition is false. Then we're no longer going to execute the loop again. Now this is how it works. Step one, the body runs at least once. Okay, it runs at least once without even checking the condition. Then after the body after running the body, the code inside the body of the do while, then we check the condition. That's step two. The condition is checked. If the condition is true, we are going to repeat again. But if the condition is false, we are going to stop. We are no longer going to repeat. So we'll just stop. So if the user desires to exit the menu, then you're not going to display the menu, but you have to display it at least once. You'll see. Now we have the for loop. So the for loop is best when the number of iterations is known beforehand. That means we know how many times we want to repeat this block of code. For example, if you want to take, say you have 20 students in a class and you want to take in their name, then you want to say see in name 20 times. So you can use a follow because you know exactly how many times the condition is going to work. So this one, it combines a lot of things: initialization, condition, and update in one line. This is what we are talking about. So this is a for loop, and we're going to have initialization, the condition that we're going to check. Now we're going to update that so that we force the condition to be false so that we can get out of this. Okay, this is just theory. You'll see in practice, don't worry. Now the step one, we're going to do the initialization. Step two, we're going to check the condition, and then if the condition is true, we run the body of the for loop if the condition is true, and then we update the repeat. So this slide is going to be very important to you after you have seen how this works. So you will come back here and see, you're going to see it in code how it works, and then you'll see. So now also for the for loop, we have an infinite loop, which is if the condition is never false, or you miss an update, you're not going to update. You'll see what we were talking about when you say it's an update, and then that's going to be an infinite loop. I think I'm done. Now I'm going to go to the code so we code all these things that we have said. This slides for now, if we're introducing you to these concepts, well, they might not make sense, but they will make a lot of sense when you come back after you have tried working with this. So they will help you understand how they work. so you don't really need to worry about them now. So what I'm going to do now is to go to the C++ online compiler, and we're going to we're going to run the code and see what we've been talking about. I don't know if there are questions. Let me go check if there are any questions, because I haven't been on the meeting screen for a very long time. Okay, no questions. All right, so we're going to write code for this, things that we've been talking about. Which compiler do I want to use? Other compilers, they don't perform really well. And the previous one didn't allow us to take input from the user. So taking time to load because I'm recording the video. I'm in a meeting with you. I'm also recording the screen, so I have a lot of applications running at the same time, and now they are using up my RAM. That is why it's slow. So maybe I'll need to increase my RAM with time. This one is taking a very long time, but since I'm going to let me stop sharing this. Let me stop sharing the slides with you, so that I can free up some RAM, and then maybe things will load a little bit faster, and then I will share the code with you after. And this is taking forever. So the lab that you have written today, or the lab that I gave, you realize so there are recurring questions. Then question 5 is recurring because we only wanted to use the if statement. And then now, since you have learned that we can provide an alternative block, we can use if else, or you can use the switch statement. So it's a recurring question because in the next lab you're going to use things that we have learned. Ladies and gentlemen, this one compiler is not the one that we want. It's taking too much time, and we don't want it. We want things that are fast, because we are we let me C++ online compiler. So even when you write your programs, make sure you write fast programs, because people are going to be impatient. One wait for it to take forever to load in order for them just to write code online. They won't do that. Just like I just left. So you have to write fast programs. Unless it's my network, not just people. Okay, this one. Okay, this one is fine, but I don't know if you'll be able to see the code, but let me share. I'm trying to look for the dark mode, and okay. Let me share the code. Let's hope you'll be able to see it. If we don't, then we'll have to switch to a different one. Um, as much as we're going to record our online classes, don't rely much on them, because there are some things that we are not going to. There are some things I'm not going to cover in the or at least you'll be able to see what we are doing, of course. Yeah, so yeah, well, you can rely on them, I guess. I don't know if the code is on your side. Let me check. Can we see the code? I hope you can. I hope you are able to see the code. I can't. That imaging meditable, and when are we still here? That day, I don't know. Is the code on your end? Okay, meditable and that imaging. Like okay, all right. So we're going to quickly going to start with the if and if else and so on. They are very simple. So we're going to start with the switch statement. We're going to start with the switch statement, and then do the do while, and then the while loop, and then the for, because they are the ones that are a bit challenging. All right, so let me quickly. So they included the string library here by default. Don't worry about that. It's because they're going to use the string. I just want to use using namespace using namespace so that I don't write the C out and so on. Now this is what we want to do, okay? Let's have let's have a very simple program, okay? Let's have int day. So this one you're going to it's a variable that we're going to store the number of the day. So Monday will be the first day, Tuesday will be two, and so on. So let's have int day, that's a variable, and then we're going to have a statement that we're going to say we're going to see out. I don't know if this is going to allow us to take input from the user. I really do not know, and this code looks very small. I don't know if it can allow me to zoom in. And okay, I don't know if you are able to see this after I have zoomed in. Now we have see out, okay? So we're going to say enter day number, right? So we want the user to enter day number, and then after that we're going to see in, we're taking in the input now, so we're going to store it in variable day. Now we are doing the switch statement. So the switch statement is going to be, we're going to write switch, okay, and then day, the variable day. So this is a variable that contains it's containing, we know it can have multiple values, right? It can have multiple values. So those values are cases, case. So we're saying in case there is one, okay? Since case there is one, that means if that is holding a value one, that is holding value one, what should you do? Then if you want, some people they can just say right here, this line just say see out, this is for Monday, right? This is Monday. They'll say see out Monday, and then we can do the end line so that we can have a very nice output. Remember, the end line is just going to break the line, and then so, and now we have case it's containing two, okay. um let me do this, okay. I want to change this example because you see, for the cases I'm writing case one, case two. It won't be very clear what we are doing. Now let's change the problem by saying that we have a program where you're going to enter your grade. Okay, you're going to enter your grade, whether you've got an A, a B, or a C in your course. What have you gotten in your course? So it's going to be grade, right? Now it can be A or B. And then when you enter your grade, we give you the range in which your grade falls. Okay, let's say enter, so you'll see what the program is going to do. So enter grade, right? So enter grade, or we just output pass or fail depending on what you have gotten, okay. So we say enter grade, then see in, we have to change this to be grade, then we switch grade, So we're going to check create for different cases. So create can have different so remember that's a character, so I have to use this as a character. So I say case create is containing a, then you should see out, let's write pass, or there's a pass, right? It's a pass. And then um let's say let's have another case b, right? Okay, say b, and then you say if you've gotten a b, it's still a pass, right? This is still a pass. It is still a pass. I'm just making it a program now. At CTDE, if you've gotten okay, at CTD if you've gotten the pass mark is, if you've gotten a C here, you have failed. So CTDE pass mark is 70. So if you've gotten below 70, which is a B, then you have failed. So you have failed. So this is a fail at CTDE. Let me just write this. Let me just paste the code and then I'll write fail. So it's fail. And then now we also have the default block. So the default block is what we want when the case, let's say it's none of the above. It's not a A, it's not a B, it's not a C. So if you didn't get a A, you didn't get a B, you didn't get a C, CTDE, it's going to be a 17. So we tell you to bye bye. So yeah, that's it. So now that's how the switch statement is going to check. It's going to, we know create can hold multiple values, can hold A, can hold B, can hold C. And if it's not a, so we are interested in A, B, C. If it's below C, we know it's a create that gets you discontinued. So we say if it's not that, then by default we are sure if it's not A, B, you have failed. That's terrible fail. So we're going to run the code and see if it will allow us to take create and do what we are supposed to do. Okay, there's an error. See, this has no match, right? So it doesn't have a match. So I have to close that. And this one is for the switch. This one is for that. Okay, so I can run the code now. No errors. I forgot to share the code with the recording screen. I forgot to share the code with the recording screen. I'll see how I fix that in edit. I don't know if I'll be able to fix it, but let me just share it with the recording screen. I forgot to say it with the recording screen. Okay, so now here's the program running. We are supposed to enter create. Okay, let's enter A and see what's going to happen. You see, that's what we are talking about when we say if you don't have a break statement, then there's going to be what we call a fall through. The code is going to check all the other conditions, which is what you don't want. You don't want this because you see it's giving false output. It's saying enter create A, it's saying pass fail discontinue, and we don't want this. So now I'm also going to show you how I share how I prefer people to write the switch statement in such a way that it looks good and you're also able to understand the code. Your code should be readable, it should be easy to read. You should see what you have written. Now, let's fix the code so that it does what we want it to do. All right, let's do this. Now we have the switch statement, right? We have the switch statement. So it's always best if you, for each case, you can put them inside a block, right? Inside a block like this. You can put them inside a block like this, and then you have your line in here. Actually, so let's put the block there so that you see that there's a block for case A. Um, there's a block for case A. So this one looks a little bit nicer. You see there's a block for case A, and then after that you're going to write the break statement in here, break, because we don't want it to execute those other ones. So we can do the same for this other cases. So we put it inside a block and put it inside a block, and then so you see that this is a block for kids. There are other projects that if you don't have the brackets, then you might have an issue. It also makes your code to look nice. We want code that is readable. So now we're going to include the break statement. So we have break. We don't want it to fall through like it did with the previous example. Now we have this. So I forgot to share it with the recording screen. So that means for some part of that you won't be able to see the code. But I remembered finally. Right. So this is it, and then the break statement. The default part we don't need the break statement because it is the last part. Okay, it is the last part. Now our code kind of looks like this. I don't know. Maybe I should zoom back a bit so that the code can fit into. All right, so this is how our code looks like. It's switch create, then we have case A, we have block for when the case is A, and then the block for when the case is B, and then the block for when the case is C, and the default block, right? Now we're going to run the code again and see what's going to be the output this time around. So we are compiling the code, and okay, so it's about to run. It's expecting enter create. Now let's try with B this time around. B. So a B is a pass, so it's giving us a pass. I don't know if you're able to see the output. Here is the output down here. So it said enter create B, and enter create, then we entered B and it gave us a pass. Now let's enter something that's not A, B, or C and see that the default block is going to be executed. So let's say you've got W in C++. So you've gotten create W. So it's not even going to waste time. It's going to tell you that you are discontinued. So it's going to tell you you are discontinued, and that's it. So yes, that's how the switch statement went. Thank you, Ndademe team, for replying the message in the group. I see you replied to the lady who couldn't join the class. Thank you for that. Now this is how a switch statement works. I don't know if there are questions. Are there any questions? Let me go to the meeting screen and check if there are any questions. Everyone is fine. I think that demo bay is like he's okay. Or maybe it's a previous reaction. We all good. So that's how it works. I hope you are still able to see the code. It kind of looks small. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Your question, please say. As if you raised the hand. Are you going to type or you're going to talk? I see your hand is up, unless maybe it was a mistake. You pressed that by mistake. I see your hand is up. That made see. And then now we're going to move on to. I don't know if there are any other questions. Let me go check if there are more questions. If there are any other questions. Okay, no questions. Now we move on to the. Okay, our time is up. Our time is up, but then our time is up. But let's quickly do the do while, because I think it's also another thing that you guys need to see. So okay, so I have to delete this. All right, now let's have the do while, right? So we're going to have int then let's have this as choice. So we're going to use this variable to hold the user choice, right? And now we're going to say, so we're going to say do, and then we have first option, one option, let's say buy airtime, and then okay, we have to see out, right? Do see out, that. So we have see out that. So we are creating a menu sort of, and then we have end line. And then now we have, I'm just going to copy the line because we're running out of time. So I'll paste, and then I'll just change. So we have see out that. So by here we can say by data, and then we change the number to be 2. Okay, 2. Now and then we have the last option, which is 0. And let's say if the user enters 0, that's going to be an exit. So you enter this to exit, to close. Okay, you can just say exit or close menu. Okay, so it's exit or close menu. And now this is it, right? So that's this is our do while, right? And now we say do you want we want you to do this while. So it's going to be while. Now we write our condition. We want this menu to be displayed as long as the option is not, as long as the option is not as long as the option is not 0. So as long as choice, as long as choice is not, so we're going to use this is not equal to, it's not equal to 0. So we want you to do this as long as this is not equal to 0, right? So now we need to put in the condition. We need to put in some line that will make this condition to fail. So inside the do while, we have to ask for user to enter a choice, right? So we're going to do that. Now this line here, we have to say see out enter option or enter choice. Okay, so this is a choice that we're expecting the user to input. And then after that, we have to see in, meaning we are taking input, we're taking the choice from the user. So we have that's not how. So we need to be careful with the variable names and make sure that they're same, that they're consistent. Okay, all right, now we need to terminate, we need to this to end the line. And so usually the C++, we have to say return 0. So you see the code was working. Now you're going to see how this is going to work. Okay, now we're getting an error. Let's see, expected after expression. There's which expression? Let's look at our code and see what we missed and what's not. Okay, so expected this after expression CR1. Oh, so you see, we forgot to that this is going to be a string that is going to be outputted. So we forgot to put it inside. I forgot to put it inside the 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 quotation marks, speech marks. So that's why we got that error. So yeah, those are some things that we forget sometimes. Hopefully, this fixes the code. One other thing, you should read errors. Try to understand what it's complaining about. Yeah, well, some won't make sense, but some they will give you an idea what it is about. So, okay, now you see the variable name here is not the same as that one that I used there. the variable name here in the condition is not matching that one I used there. So I have to fix this error and then paste that. I think now this, well, let me see. Yeah, well, I think that fixes the error. You shouldn't be scared of getting errors. Errors, they're just part of life. You have to be comfortable with them. So take your time, fix them. So the code is running, okay? Now, see it's output in the menu, say buy airtime, buy data, or zero to exit. Now, if I enter one, because there is no other code that we have provided, what should happen if I enter one? It's just going to repeat the loop again. So I'm going to enter one. It's going to um, repeat the loop again. See, buy data, because it's not exit. I'm going to enter two, still not exit. Let me move this upwards so you can see the output. Now I'm going to enter zero. You see, it's not going to display the menu again. So I enter zero, and then um, you see normal program termination. So the program ended. All right. That's the do while. So we use it when we want to do things like menu, because a menu has to run at least once. Because yes, it can run once, then I choose to exit, because it can run for the first time, then I just decide to exit, enter zero, then that will be it. I've terminated the program. So that's the use of a do while. Thank you very much for your time. Our time is up. We'll have a code, or have a video. I'll have a separate video on a while loop, and while loop, and the for loop. So you'll have that video on that. And thank you very much. On Thursday, you're going to write your test. It's going to cover everything up until where we are. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are questions. Are there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? All right, no questions. Thank you. Okay. No, let's look at line 15 in our, look at line 14 and 15 in our do while. I'm going to highlight. Can you see the lines I've highlighted? Yes. So it's inside the while loop. The reason why we put it inside the do while loop is because, yeah, it's because we wanted to. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you. Have a good night, good people.